Motivation is one of the most misunderstood concepts in coaching. Real motivation, the kind that drives behavior, builds habits, and fuels development, isn't about shouting or pumping players up. It's about creating the right environment and mindset. In this episode, we explore the science behind motivation and show how elite coaches spark curiosity, build confidence, and unlock a player's desire to learn and grow. Let's dive in.
So if you ask, the average person what motivation looks like in a really high-stakes environment, what do they picture?
Oh, it's always something from a movie.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's the coach screaming, maybe a clipboard gets smashed, or you get that huge, emotional, high-intensity speech in the locker room. It's all just volume and emotion.
And that really is the great myth of motivation, isn't it? That it's something you can just sort of summon with a loud voice or sheer willpower. But if you actually dig into the comprehensive resources, like the stuff coming out of elite coaching hubs, you find something that's...
Well, it's completely the opposite. True motivation isn't about that immediate, fiery intensity.
Absolutely. The kind of motivation that actually changes behavior, that builds habits that last. It's not driven by slogans. It's driven by some pretty precise science.
Psychological and neurological science.
Right. So our mission today is to cut through all that noise. We're going to give you a shortcut, really, into the psychology and the practical strategies that the best coaches are using to unlock a player's own internal desire to get better. We're stripping away the myths and just focusing on the mechanism. And we have to start where the science tells us to start.
Which is where...
With the player's brain.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The first critical insight from these resources is that most coaches, most people really, they start from the totally wrong place.
Yes.
They see motivation as something you have to add to people, like you can pour it into them or demand it from them.
Exactly. But motivation isn't a substance you pour in. It's a response. It's a direct result of how a player's brain is reading the environment that you, the coach, have created.
So the brain is constantly scanning its environment.
Constantly. And players are naturally motivated when their brain picks up on certain signals. Things like safety, trust, a really clear task, a sense of meaning or purpose, and, actual enjoyment.
And on the flip side, motivation just disappears when those things are gone. When they feel judged, when they're afraid of failure, if the goalposts are always shifting.
That's it. It's less about psychology and more like designing the right operating system for the brain to function optimally.
I like that, an operating system.
It's a kind of cognitive architecture, and this is where the neuroscience gives us that big aha moment. You have to think about two key parts of the brain. First up, the amygdala.
Right, that's the brain's... the panic button.
It's the panic button, precisely. It's our ancient threat detector. So if a player feels judged or they get criticized in front of everyone or they're just terrified of making a mistake, the amygdala lights up.
And the body goes into defense mode.
Defense mode. Cortisol floods the system, and that is what kills motivation. The brain is now focused on one thing: self-preservation, not learning, not creativity.
So fear literally makes you worse at your job.
Yes. It leads to hesitation, to tension, to choking under pressure. It literally shuts down the learning centers of the brain.
Which is the prefrontal cortex.
The prefrontal cortex. That's your high-powered laptop, the part that handles problem-solving, creativity, complex skills. The amygdala's threat response basically puts that part of the brain on lockdown.
So the big takeaway here is that great coaches reduce threat. But elite coaches, they do something more.
They go a step further. They actively build curiosity. Their whole goal is to keep that learning center, the prefrontal cortex, engaged, not the defense center. It's not about firing them up with fear. It's about creating enough psychological safety so they can calm down and actually think.
Okay, so the foundation is set. It starts with dialing down the threat. But, being calm isn't enough. You have to fuel the fire.
Right.
And for that, the roadmap that keeps coming up in the Coaching Hub resources is self-determination theory, SDT.
SDT is, it's the most powerful framework we have for this stuff. It explains exactly why players are totally driven in one environment and completely disengaged in another.
And it all boils down to three basic psychological needs.
Three universal needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness.
Let's start with the first one, autonomy. Now, wait a minute. How can a player have autonomy when the coach decides the game plan, the training, the subs? Isn't that just a recipe for chaos?
That's a great challenge, and it gets right to the common misunderstanding. Autonomy isn't chaos. It's not do whatever you want. It's about ownership.
Ownership.
And involvement. It means the players feel valued, they feel trusted, and they feel like they're part of the process. It's the difference between feeling controlled, where you just follow orders,
Like a robot.
and feeling trusted, where you're committed because you actually had a voice. Players who feel controlled become passive. Players who feel trusted become committed problem solvers.
So how do you do that in practice? What are some of those small, practical examples?
It's all about what we call micro moments of choice. Small things, like asking the players to design 5 minutes of the warm-up,
Okay.
or offering a tactical choice for just one drill. Not the whole game, just one part. Okay, for this next rep, do we press high, or do we hold a mid-block? You decide.
So you're signaling that their brain matters.
Your input is valuable here. Or even before a session, using preview questions. What are you going to look for in our build-up today that tells you we're succeeding? These little moments build that sense of trust.
That makes sense. Okay, pillar number 2, competence. I feel like this is where traditional coaching really drops the ball. The instinct is just to yell, try harder.
Which is useless. Competence is all about the brain's fundamental need for mastery and growth. Motivation just collapses when players feel like they can't succeed.
So do better is not helpful feedback.
It's the worst feedback because it doesn't give them a tool. Competence is built through clear, specific feedback and a structure that allows for small wins. You have to redefine success.
Give me an example.
Okay, say you have a striker who's struggling to score. The outcome, the goal, feels impossible. So you shift the focus. You say, look, success for you today isn't goals. It's getting 3 shots off from inside the box.
So you make it about the process,
Yeah.
something they can actually control.
Exactly. Or for a defender, maybe it's your goal for this session is to win 6 out of your 10 one-on-one duels. You make the improvement something they can see and feel.
So competence builds confidence.
And confidence builds the belief that effort is worthwhile, which, at the end of the day, is the definition of motivation.
Which brings us to the third and final piece of SDT, relatedness. The sources call this the most powerful driver of them all.
Connection, belonging, we're wired for it. Players will go to the wall for a group they feel connected to. They thrive when they feel accepted and valued. And they shut down completely when they feel ignored or judged.
So what are those coach behaviors that build relatedness?
It's the simple human stuff. Learning every player's story, their goals, what's going on in their life, greeting them individually at the start of practice eye contact, use their name. It has a massive, measurable impact.
And protecting them.
Protecting them from public embarrassment. Celebrating the small improvements, not just the big wins. Building little team rituals, like a huddle before you start or a quick reflection circle at the end. Strong relationships create the safety net that allows players to take the risks they need to take to grow.
So if we have autonomy, competence, and relatedness as the building blocks, let's zoom out to the whole environment. The resources really stretch this. Motivation isn't a personality trait. It's a cultural product.
Yes, the environment you design is what makes the player motivated. And this is where we have to talk about intrinsic versus extrinsic drivers.
Okay, so extrinsic is the do this or else stuff. Punishment laps, threats of being benched, maybe some external reward.
Right. And look, does it work in the short term?
Of course, if you threaten me with 5 laps, I'm going to sprint right now.
You'll sprint. But that short-term compliance comes with a huge long-term cost. Players become dependent. Their effort disappears the second you're not looking over their shoulder. And fear kills creativity.
But what about the final minute of a big game? Don't you need that emotional extrinsic pump-up then?
I think the argument in these resources is that the need for that pump-up is a sign you failed to build the right structure beforehand. If the system is intrinsically motivated...
The intensity is already there. It's self-generated.
Exactly. Intrinsic motivation, that pride in getting better, the love of the challenge, that's what creates consistency and resilience. That's the engine.
So the job isn't to force the work. It's to help the player find out why the work matters to them.
That's the perfect way to put it. And to do that, you need one non-negotiable ingredient in your environment: psychological safety.
The Coaches Hub resources call this the single most powerful performance enhancer. Players have to feel they can fail without being punished or ridiculed.
Because if they're afraid of mistakes, they just become robots. They only do what they know they can do perfectly.
Safe environments create curious players. Fearful environments create cautious ones.
And once you have that safety, you can find the developmental sweet spot: high challenge plus high support.
Right, because it's easy to fall into one extreme or the other.
Totally. High challenge only. That's just overwhelming. Players get stressed, they feel incompetent, they burn out.
And high support only.
That's stagnation. They're comfortable, but they never grow. The sweet spot is setting a really high standard, but then flooding them with support and belief. It's saying, the bar is up here, and I'm going to give you every tool you need to reach it.
And a huge part of that is the coach's voice, the language you use every day. It's probably the biggest motivator or demotivator in any session.
It's so often underestimated. Let's just take praise. There's a huge difference between effort praise and outcome praise.
Okay, let's break that down. Outcome praise is saying, great goal.
Great goal,
Yeah.
yes, which focuses on a result that was partly out of their control. Maybe the goalie made a mistake. When you praise the outcome, you teach the brain that only the result matters. So if they miss the next shot, they feel like a failure.
And they might stop taking difficult shots to protect their ego.
Precisely. But if you praise the effort, if you say great movement to create that chance, you're reinforcing the process. You're telling their brain that is the behavior that leads to success. Do that again.
That's so powerful. And it connects to using process language instead of just criticism.
Players need tools, not judgments. Stop losing the ball is a judgment.
Useless.
It's useless. But your first touch can take you away from pressure. That will help you keep it. Now, that's a tool they can use immediately.
And of course, avoiding what the source calls embarrassment coaching, sarcasm, public callouts. That stuff just destroys safety instantly.
It's a non-negotiable. Use questions, use private correction. Respect is the currency of motivation.
Okay, let's bring this all home. To make this whole system self-sustaining, we need two final elements: individualization and visible progress.
And progress is, without a doubt, the strongest intrinsic motivator there is. When people feel like they're getting better, they work harder. It's that simple. But you have to make that progress visible.
How do you do that? How do you quantify something like better awareness?
You track the behaviors, not just the score. The resources give great examples, like tracking successful defensive duels. Maybe a player goes from winning 5 out of 10 to 8 out of 12. That's a number.
Or using video clips.
Video is huge. Show them a clip from last month and one from today. Or track their scanning rate. They made 5 scans before receiving the ball last week. This week they made 12. When they see the numbers go up, their belief skyrockets.
And finally, you have to individualize this. You can't motivate every single player the same way.
Absolutely not. The resources lay out 4 general profiles. You have the confidence player, who needs reassurance and to feel valued.
The competitor, who needs a challenge, something to measure against.
Then there's the thinker. The thinker needs to understand the why. You can't just tell them to run harder. You have to explain the tactical reason.
And lastly, the warrior, the one who thrives on emotional energy and leadership.
Exactly. And you have to speak their language. To get the thinker to track back, you explain how it compresses space. To get the warrior to do it, you tell them, we need your leadership. Set the standard. Same action, totally different motivational trigger.
So it all comes full circle. Motivation creates the desire.
But structure provides the direction. The desire will fade without a system. You need the measurable target, the repetition, the visible progress. That's how you turn a spark into a self-sustaining flame.
So we started this deep dive saying motivation isn't magic. It's design.
And we end it by saying the elite coach is, first and foremost, an environmental designer. They are intentionally building a culture rich in autonomy, competence, connection, challenge, safety, and progress. When those ingredients are there, motivation just happens. It's natural.
A really robust framework. Hopefully this gives you the science to look past the slogans and get to the systems that actually work.
And we'll leave you with one final thought, a challenge, really. Look at a goal you're trying to achieve right now in your own life. Which one of these core ingredients that we've talked about today, maybe it's psychological safety, maybe it's visible progress, maybe it's a lack of autonomy, which one is missing from your environment that if you added it would make your motivation self-sustaining? Think about that and you might just find the key to your next breakthrough.
Every environment, every word, every interaction either fuels desire or drains it. The best coaches don't rely on emotions, slogans, or loud instructions. They shape conditions where players feel capable, connected, and in control of their growth. As you step into your next session, ask yourself, am I building motivation that lasts, or am I just making noise? Until next time, coach with intention and let behavior follow.